It stretches approximately this long, over 300 miles. We have Asia to the side here, and we have a long lining and purse seining fleet of tuna operation here. And how do we surveil this, and how do we enforce this with our current capacity and with the technology that we've learned about yesterday and today, and what exists? So that's the challenge that I presented to the group, and
I'll swap with you.
yeah. All right.
Thanks, David. All right, so one of the things that we talked about is, first of all, it's 600,000
Over
square miles.
600,000 square kilometers.
Square kilometers. I'm terrible with that. But one of the biggest things that we need to focus on with that type of area was the first thing we termed threat and vulnerability assessment. The point of the matter is 600,000 square kilometers
Correct.
is difficult to protect. So where are the particular threats coming from? So where's the high traffic area where the illegal fishing is coming from? And the second is, what's the particular target area? So that 600,000 may come down to 1,000, more or less. So the first thing was, as we see here, threat and vulnerability assessment. All right. So another practice we do, and sorry I put the military hat on, but I changed the words to try to be actually nicer about it, but was deter, detect, and then deny. Usually it's destroy, but I'll be nice. So the biggest thing was, how do we deter? Okay, so how do you deter? Well, one of the things as we put here is advertise or PR. So economically, we have to think about the budgetary areas in a place like Palau of not having that much money to be able to spend. So by advertising or PR, you can do a complete plan of any of the interdictions that you've done, the pictures. I guess one of the interdictions that you did, the actual crew set the ship afire. So if it's on fire, you didn't do it, but boy, you can say this is what's done when they're captured. So you didn't lie, but see what the message is. Yeah. So if you did that to the entire region, now people are like, holy, don't mess with Palau.
There's actually a fatality in that incident.
Really? So even worse. So in a nice way to make sure you guys look really good, but at the same time of deterrence of how strong your words are. So you scare the crap out of them. That's the first thing, right? So the next thing is detect and then deny. So with that detect and deny. All right, so after I detect it, I need to be able to do something about it. So right now they have one particular craft. So you need to entertain, all right, if I do detect something, how am I going to go out and either interdict it with either a ship or identification? It depends on the prosecution, right? So let's keep that in the back of the mind. So on the detection, there's a variety of different ways. So they protect out to 200 nautical miles. So excuse my expression, but I use the term, it's almost like a big hot dog ring around Palau. And the reason for it is at that 200 miles, that's a pretty significant swath. So one of the things about it, and okay, yeah, Liquid Robotics had, we were talking about doing acoustic systems because these are not going to be AIS transmitted. There's got to be some kind of system out there that's going to detect a vessel without AIS. So things with the SPAWAR satellite, that's an option, so overhead imagery. The acoustic system we talked about. Okay, so that's a standoff range, 200 nautical miles. So then they come in closer, and as you're getting in closer, you can use things like radar. Radar will get you out 70, 80 nautical miles. So what happens is you have radar, 70, 80 nautical miles. You have acoustic systems pushing out to 200 nautical miles. You do have AIS, just in case they are transmitting, you do get that information. So that layered approach of closest to the island all the way out gives you time, a response time for the ship to go out and interdict. But to be able to have a layered approach to be able to detect this as far as possible. So before you did that, we scared the hell out of them, so that was economical, coming back to that. So back to the threat and vulnerability assessment, one of the things is as soon as they identify how you are, lack of a better term, defeating them, they're then going to craft a whole different approach, a whole different model. We heard that in Africa where the mothership stopped and then the little canoes went off, right? So hopefully I represented that correctly. So they changed, so that vulnerability assessment needs to change, or maybe they shift in locations. So they have a solution that's going to cover the entire island, the entire 600,000 area. May not be plausible, but a layered approach in the high threat areas and the high traffic or the high dollar amount areas is probably the most plausible approach.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to interject there is that one of the suggestions is that we prioritize our assets. So we have coral reefs down here, coral reefs up here that provide food security for our people and tourism dollars. So because we have a limited resource in terms of funding and enforcement capacity, we kind of focus on those areas, and that was Lewis's suggestion. Yeah, so we use those assets, those technologies to focus on those areas, as well as kind of create a picket perimeter around our EEZ.
Then last was no income stream to support this, but there's the tourism. So one of the things is a lot of philanthropic, definitely something that you could talk about even more, but how to be able to capture money or revenue, how do you prosecute, how do you provide fees, but at the same time, and I'll switch back from you have landing rights and so forth?
Yeah, well, there are several ways we are planning on finding the dollars really to pay for this, and some of it includes things that we can do. One of the things good about being a sovereign nation is we create our own laws. So what we did with the Micronesian Challenge is we implemented a $50 departure fee for all non-Palauans, and that so far has generated about $6 million just for our protected areas network. It takes time, so that's why we're talking about a transition period, but it's something that we can do. It's not a lot. That's why we depend on outside nations, outside agencies, but you know, it's just for such a small country, for such a large initiative, every little bit counts is basically what we're trying to say.
I think we captured it.
Yeah, I think so.